Miss A's disbandment didn't come crashing down in a headline-grabbing scandal or one last dramatic comeback. In fact, it faded out quietly, with a growing distance between the members that fans began to notice long before the group was officially declared over. Miss A's official goodbye was formally announced by JYP Entertainment in December 2017, nearly 3 years after Miss A's last activities as a unit. During that slow unraveling, fan speculation around group dynamics intensified, especially regarding one member, Suzy, who seemed to be at the forefront of more drama than others. Bae Suzy had, by most industry standards, achieved something close to idol royalty at the time she was active. She debuted in 2010, barely 16 years old, and by 2011, her appearance in the teen drama Dream High catapulted her into stardom outside of the group's activities. From there, her popularity snowballed as she started booking major acting gigs, brand endorsements, and magazine covers at a rate unmatched by her group mates. While Miss A was technically a 4-member act, the public attention did seem to be mostly on Suzy, and that growing perception began to divide the fandom and, as many now believe, may have affected the group from within. But despite the imbalance, many believe that there was never a clear villain in the story, as it was never Suzy's fault that she was able to succeed across the industries. Unfortunately, fans noticed that promotions from JYP Entertainment became more Suzy-focused, as she often booked the best appearances, stood in the center in group photos, and carried most of the brand recognition. The rest of the members, Min, Faye, and Jia, were immensely talented in their own right, but the discrepancy in media coverage was stark. Don't forget to follow the channel for more insight into K-pop's biggest stars, and make sure to leave a comment down below with your own opinion on the situation. This gave rise to a theory among fans that Suzy's very success might have been the root cause of the group's eventual fracture, even starting a phenomenon among other K-pop fandoms where fans started to fear another Suzy situation. The idea was that Suzy's individual fame and fans didn't help strengthen the group's brand and was actually quite harmful to it, as many of her solo stans weren't necessarily fans of Miss A as a whole, and that hindered the group's ability to grow a strong, unified fan base. However, as one fan put it, there was nothing anyone could do about it since Suzy's career was just naturally growing, as they wrote. JYPE had no way to prevent it without ruining Suzy's career. According to many, even Miss A's debut legacy has slowly been overshadowed by the narrative of Suzy's presence in the group, and while their discography remains respected, the group has never gone on any big tours or built big fandoms like other groups of their time, such as Girls' Generation or 21. Many now argue that Miss A was remembered more for what they could have been than what they became, and some of that disappointment has wrongly been directed at how Suzy's rising fame complicated the team dynamic. Of course, this is all fan speculation, as neither Suzy nor her former members have ever outright confirmed any rift. But over time, the absence of words also became its own answer, as the growing emotional distance between Suzy and the rest of the group became harder to ignore. One major discussion regarding the group dynamics came in 2015 during Jia's birthday celebration, as Suzy was conspicuously absent from the party, despite the group still technically being together at the time. While this could have easily been chalked up to scheduling conflicts, fans were quick to notice that Suzy had no public commitments that day. What made matters worse in the eyes of netizens was that Suzy didn't even acknowledge Jia's birthday on social media, despite having retweeted birthday posts for other JYP label mates around the same time. Photos from Jia's birthday party also surfaced online, showing a cheerful gathering that included Min, Faye, Hyoyeon from Girls' Generation, Jokwon from 2AM, and Hyuna from 4 Minute. But Suzy was nowhere to be seen, which is why fans and netizens latched onto this as proof of behind-the-scenes tension, wondering if Suzy had even been invited. Considering the scrutiny the group was already under due to Suzy's rapidly growing solo fame, the party only fanned the flames. However, in reality, the members of Miss A may have simply grown apart like many former co-workers do, especially after their group activities started to fade out, and with members getting busy with their own lives. In fact, even the members themselves have subtly suggested as much. Faye, for example, has spoken openly and warmly about Suzy in recent years. In an interview on Sina Weibo, she was asked directly about the difference in popularity among Miss A's members, and rather than deflect, she acknowledged the issue head-on, saying that popularity is ultimately up to the public and no one can control it. She emphasized that all the members had worked hard, each doing their best within their own lane. When asked specifically about Suzy, Faye also had nothing but praise for her and her incredible ambition from the beginning of their career. She even brought up how Suzy, with only 10 months of training, had to work harder than anyone else to keep up, and that her popularity was only a good thing for the group, saying, "She chanced upon a very good opportunity. I think this is a very good thing. Ultimately, your answer is that you know of Miss A, right? It's good enough that you know of Miss A." Netizens also praised her for the way she acknowledged the situation, as it was a surprisingly mature and gracious take on what was, undoubtedly, a difficult group dynamic. Being even more open, Min also took the chance to address the rumor that's long haunted her about her possibly antagonizing a fellow group member. She claimed to have seen a viral YouTube video accusing her of just that and felt the need to clear her name, as she denied the accusations would never do that. Still, she didn't go into specifics, which many netizens took as a very cryptic way of addressing things, especially by not naming any names during her entire interview, even suggesting that there might be a deeper meaning behind her refusing to discuss her relationship with Suzy openly. But perhaps the most glaring sign that all was not well came at the start of June when Min got married in Seoul. The wedding made headlines not just for the occasion, but for who was there and who wasn't. Photos quickly circulated of what looked like a full-on JYP entertainment reunion. Min, in her gorgeous wedding gown, was joined by Jia and Faye, smiling alongside familiar faces from the company's golden era. Jia even posted publicly, congratulating Min and adding, "It was so great to see the JYP family again after such a long time." But fans couldn't help but notice that there was no Suzy. No photos and no mention of her, which had many people speculating if she was invited in the first place, especially as Min's earlier comment about not keeping in touch with all members became much clearer. Even Korean media outlets commented on the very clear missing piece, with the story of how Suzy had been treated hitting news headlines yet again. With the story ignited once again, fans debated the issue across platforms, with some flat out accusing the other members of having pushed Suzy out of the group. One user even wrote, "Would anyone with self-respect go to the wedding of someone who made them an outcast in the team?" Others defended Min, Faye, and Jia, suggesting that friendships sometimes fade and that Suzy herself might have grown distant, saying maybe they just weren't that close. There are always people you're less close to in any group. Things then only continued to spiral as the end of June also meant the group's 15-year anniversary, which Faye surprised the internet with by making a nostalgic celebration post. In the images shared, fans spotted something that some took as suspicious, as one of the photos featuring their Hush album had Suzy's face covered. The image went viral almost immediately, with some questioning if Faye had done it on purpose, especially as they didn't seem to miss Suzy's presence at the wedding. But upon closer inspection, the original posts on Instagram and Weibo told a different story. Faye had actually included multiple photos, some of which clearly showed all four members, including Suzy, with no attempt to hide her. Still, the narrative had already taken hold, and for many, this was yet another piece of evidence suggesting Suzy was never fully accepted by the rest of the group. Netizens also haven't been able to let go of Suzy's own words of her time in the group, as many believe that her feelings regarding what happened also suggest there might be more to the story. While promoting her Netflix K-drama LOONA in 2023, where she plays a K-pop idol who suddenly abandons her career and walks away from fame, Suzy reflected on how closely the role mirrored aspects of her own life in Miss A. Speaking with Cosmopolitan Korea, she said the experience of filming constantly reminded her of that time in her life. "Although my experience was different from LOONA's, I was still able to understand her well. In my early 20s, I didn't have the opportunity to feel pain and express my true emotions like LOONA. I actually kept my feelings hidden." The quote hit hard, as many fans often wondered if she felt happy in the group considering all of the tension that always existed about her being in it. That the maknae and golden girl of JYP hadn't actually felt all that golden confirmed what many suspected, and while the spotlight may have followed her, it seems she didn't always feel comfortable standing in it. In another interview, she also discussed her initial feelings at debut due to her having less experience, saying, "I was happy to debut with the older members, but at the same time, I was worried." However, others also immediately seemed to imply that there might have been things that contributed to her not necessarily being comfortable. However, whether this distance grew slowly or existed from the beginning remains unclear. But one thing that can't be denied today is that Suzy has emerged as the most active and arguably the most successful of all the former Miss A members. Since the group's disbandment, she has flourished in the Korean entertainment industry, particularly as an actress. Leaving JYP in 2019, she signed with Management Soup, an agency known for its roster of serious acting talent, and has continued to build an impressive acting portfolio. She hasn't abandoned music entirely either, as she has released solo music and contributed to OSTs, but her primary focus has clearly shifted. Unlike many idols who struggle post-disbandment, Suzy has only grown in stature, respected not only for her beauty and star power, but increasingly for her acting talent. Her fellow members are also doing extremely well for themselves in their own way, with Mina being a prime example following her long-anticipated wedding, all while still leading a stable musical career. Faye has also been focusing on her own solo music, especially in China, where she's even started to dabble in various acting roles. Jia's own career has also been heavily focused on the Chinese market, even starting her own agency while releasing music of her own. Ultimately, whatever may have happened during their years in Miss A, it's clear that those experiences no longer define the group, as moving on might just have been the best thing that could have happened to the group. And while not all members keep in touch now, it was definitely a time of of their lives that has contributed to them leading great lives and careers today, all in their own ways. But Miss A weren't the only group with tension simmering behind the scenes. One of K-pop's biggest girl groups faced an even more public split. The same day that she left SNSD,
my life has changed a lot.
Jessica was kicked out of the group.
It's an accurate reflection of my life as well. And I always thought that I had a story to tell.
In 2014, Girls' Generation had a legendary status as a group in the music industry. Everything seemed perfect, and people were excited to see where the group would be headed in the future. That's why nobody expected to see the news of Jessica leaving the group all of a sudden. On September 30th, Jessica posted a shocking update on Weibo, writing, "I was excited about our upcoming fan events, only to shockingly be informed by my company and 8 others that as of today, I'm no longer a member. I'm devastated. My priority in love is to serve as a member of Girls' Generation, but for no justifiable reason, I'm being forced out." While the update was shocking since there had never been any hint of bad blood between the members, people just assumed that she had been hacked and someone wanted to troll the fans. But fans still wanted an explanation, so the morning of September 30th was spent waiting on an update from SM or Jessica herself. Later that day, SNSD had a fan meet in China, so reporters were gathered to see if Jessica would be there, and to everyone's shock, she was the only member that was missing. Things got all the more concerning when Jessica replied to her own post on Weibo. She said, "You guys are very special people that I love dearly, therefore you deserve to hear the truth from me. I'm deeply saddened and hurt by those who I trusted and hope that you don't ever have to experience this kind of pain." It didn't help that SM was refusing to comment on the matter. There were also insider reports that Jessica met with an attorney who was also JYJ's lawyer during their case against SM, but this was debunked by the attorney himself. While all the chaos was happening, SM dropped a vague statement in an attempt to calm everyone down, saying, "We cannot disclose what is going on yet, but we are reaching out to the proper people to find out the truth of the matter." And you know what happens every time a company refuses to clarify things? Yup, everyone just makes their own rumors and speculations about everything. Some rumors were saying that SM and Jessica had conflicts over her wanting to get married to Tyler Kwan, but mostly everyone just assumed that the mess happened over Jessica's fashion line. There were insiders who claimed that the other SNSD members had issues with it. The more Jessica focused on her fashion line, the less time she would spend with Girls' Generation. The issue itself wasn't with the money, as Jessica and SM had worked out the royalties with her line, but it was said that the members asked her to choose between her business and the group. Insiders also revealed that SM had told Jessica to keep quiet about the fact that she was leaving, at least until the Tokyo Dome concert. The plan was that they were going to tell everyone that she had missed the China fan meeting because of health reasons, and then announce her departure when the time was right. But Jessica had allegedly been so pissed off at being kicked out that she went on Weibo and spilled all the tea. Then SM Entertainment finally broke their silence and released a statement. They said, "This coming spring, due to her personal situation, she has notified us she will halt her team promotions with the release of one more album." They also confirmed that there were conflicts regarding her fashion line and revealed, "In the midst of insufficient negotiations regarding conflicts of differences in priorities and interest, Jessica started her fashion business. Due to this, despite ongoing talks, it has come to the point where the team could not be maintained." The statement said that Jessica would be continuing her solo activities under SM, but wouldn't be a Girls' Generation member. Jessica also released a statement of her own. She said that she had always put the group's activities before her business and thought that the members would be more understanding. She also stated that the agency and the members were understanding up until they held a meeting where they gave her an ultimatum. She could either stop her fashion line or leave the group. In the end, when she hadn't yet decided on what to do, the company kicked her out without discussing it with her. The insider information said otherwise, though. Dispatch interviewed 3 industry insiders who claimed that not everything that Jessica said was true. They claimed that Jessica had been talking about leaving ever since January of 2014 and was even discussing getting married to Tyler in October. And even though it was true that the members were supportive of her fashion line, they were under the impression that she'd started after getting married, which is why they were shocked when she started it much earlier than expected. With her being focused on her business so much, in September of 2014, the members allegedly asked her to make a decision. Ultimately, the decision was made for her, as the members felt that Jessica had made Girls' Generation her second job rather than the main one. Despite all the speculations, what truly happened between Jessica and the rest of the members remained a mystery. Until now. Netizens thought that there must be some bad blood left between the members, and the suspicions were brought up again once Jessica released her first book titled Shine. Shine is a fictional novel of a Korean-American teenager that moves to South Korea to become an idol. Rachel Geem, who's the protagonist, gets grouped with 8 other girls to debut under one of the most powerful and biggest entertainment agencies in Korea. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so too. And if you were having any doubts whether the story was a retelling of her time in SM as a member of Girls' Generation, the different variations of the book covers were heavily hinting at it. The covers feature a Girls' Generation light stick and a poster referencing the group's hit song, Oh. Netizens also started speculating on who the characters in SHINee were supposed to represent and how true the stories and events described in the book were. Jessica herself viewed these speculations, as she said that it was up to the reader to decide which parts were fiction and which parts were real. This basically implied that even though she marketed the book as completely fictional, there was some truth to it. Jessica said, "It's going to be like an Easter egg hunt, looking for clues and who's who, what's what, what's true, what's not. But the book was very vague, so nobody really knew if the Girls Forever members in the novel were similar to the Girls' Generation members, or if the relationship between them was as strained and toxic as the book claimed. This all changed once the sequel titled Bright was leaked to the public, and in comparison to SHINee, this book was anything but vague. Trust me, Jessica was going off in this novel, and she did not hold back. What mostly got people's attention was a scene in the book where Rachel gets kicked out of the group after the other members of Girls Forever don't approve of her fashion line. That part has Rachel announcing that she didn't want to stop her fashion line nor leave the group, as she felt that she hadn't neglected group activities after starting her business. Then Mina and Rachel get into a fight over how Rachel had skipped official schedules to work on her line, while the other members were too afraid to speak up against Mina. Then the CEO of DB Entertainment, the fictional company behind Girls Forever, announces that the girls had all agreed that Rachel should leave the group and not promote with the rest of the members. I know, the tea is boiling hot. So it's no wonder that netizens think that this is Jessica's version of what happened between Girls' Generation. Rachel also expresses extreme sadness over leaving the group, even saying that she still thinks about the group and gets devastated thinking that the 9 of them will never ever be in the same frame together. Though there was another scene that left the reader shook to their cores. In another scene of the group, the Girls Forever members bump into Rachel's sister Leah backstage at an event. Leah is also an idol under the same company as Rachel, promoting with a 5-member group called Say Go. I swear, Jessica didn't even try hiding what she was doing with this scene. Leah then bows and waves to her sister's bandmates, and all the girls, except for Mina and Lizzie, wave back. Rachel then hears Lizzie and Mina badmouth Leah, talking about how she doesn't respect her seniors and is bad-mannered. Rachel alludes that they do it because they're jealous of how quickly Leah got signed with DB Entertainment and how quickly she debuted, while the two had hoped to get their sisters into the company for a long time. Specifically, Lizzie had been trying to get her younger sister to debut, but to no avail. Do you see why people are so convinced that Taeyeon and Sooyoung had beef with Crystal? Just like in the novel, Taeyeon has a younger sister Hayeon that ultimately signed with SM Entertainment in 2015, but then debuted as a soloist under another company. There was also a theory that Sooyoung is Mina. Leah is obviously Crystal, Jessica's sister, if the 5-member group and the fact that both the character and Crystal signed with their companies very early on wasn't enough of a hint for you. Fans also brought back a video of Crystal being the first to walk out of the stage after Taeyeon won first place on Music Bank. Even when she was unable to leave, she appeared bored and pissed off at the entire ordeal. If any of the parts in Bright are real, then the video would explain quite a lot. But again, Jessica said that the novel is all fiction. She said it herself. "I did try to fictionalize everything. I never wanted to write an autobiography or a tell-all story. I wanted to make good entertainment." Legally, this would make sense because it would be dumb for Jessica to come out and claim that her novel is based on a true story. The girls were probably made to sign an NDA, which would stop them from ever talking about what happened, so Jessica would get sued if she directly told someone about everything that went on. This makes differentiating between fiction and reality so much harder. And years later, fans still wonder, did time heal those wounds, or are things just as complicated as ever? In a recent interview, Jessica Jung addressed her departure from Girls' Generation, and it made quite a few headlines. Jessica's departure from Girls' Generation remains one of the industry's biggest mysteries. It's been nearly 10 years since she left, and yet people are left with a lot of questions, the main being, what exactly happened on September 30th, 2014, the day she was kicked out, and what is the relationship between the members now? Well, there haven't been many interactions in the recent years, if any. However, recently there were rumors that Tiffany had shaded Jessica during an event. Tiffany had been attending an event this summer and was surrounded by fans who were looking for a chance to talk to her or get her attention. In one of the videos from the event, a fan that was attending shouted the line, "Tiffany, bring it back to 140!" Tiffany didn't hesitate for a second as she yelled back, While to some this was a normal interaction, people brought to attention that the line that Tiffany was responding to was Jessica's line from Girls' Generation's song, I Got a Boy. This is why people thought that Tiffany was being sassy while responding, with a few even claiming that she was being particularly shady towards her former member. Twitter users responded to the video with, I can't help but think this is shade. and so messy for using Jessica's line. However, this is probably not the case. Thinking about it, Tiffany probably even forgot that this was Jessica's line and thought of a funny response to the fans' remark, even if the members don't get along with her, they're all grown women and won't be so publicly shady about each other. But even though the members themselves aren't shady, the same can't be said for SM Entertainment. In November of this year, the music video for the group's hit song Mr. Mr. reached 100 million views on YouTube. This was an incredible achievement, but the company ended up causing some controversy with the way they chose to celebrate the milestone. They made a tweet to show their appreciation to the fans for loving and supporting the girls all these years. This tweet had a collage of all the girls in the Mr. Mr. era except for Jessica. This wouldn't be such a big deal, but Jessica was a part of the group when the comeback had happened, so excluding her seemed unnecessary to fans and very belittling. They believed that her efforts and all the work she put in as a member during her time with the group deserved acknowledgement and respect. A Twitter user expressed, "The song wouldn't be what it is without her. Stop disrespecting Jessica." Another said, "Jessica is no longer a member, but it's not wrong to give credit where credit is due cause Jessica was part of this era." Others argued that since it has been nearly a decade since Jessica left the group, there's no reason for the company to include her in the group's content. After her departure in 2014, it would be normal for SM to focus more on the group's current members rather than acknowledging someone who hasn't been associated with them for so long. However, what's really noteworthy in telling us about the status of her current relationship with the Girls' Generation members is a recent interview she did. On November 22nd, Jessica released her first mini-album in 6 years titled Beep Beep. Since it has been a while since she's made any music, she took the time to promote the album through an interview on the Daily Catch-Up podcast. There were a lot of things that were discussed: her early years as an idol, her time as a member of Girls' Generation, the career she had as a soloist after leaving the group, her fashion brand, and more. However, there was no chance that she'd be talking about Girls' Generation and not be asked about what happened. The host mentioned the time after she left the group and the speculations that started on what really happened. While they acknowledged that they couldn't exactly ask for the specifics of the situation, they appeared to be curious about how Jessica handled the whole thing, especially knowing how emotionally heavy it must have been. They wondered, what went through your head during that period of time, and at the same time also trying to make your brand work? To this, Jessica answered that she always tried to put the past behind her and focus on the brighter side of things. She said that while that particular time was one of the hardest that she had experienced in her life, she had a good support system who helped her get through it. Because of her friends and family, she didn't feel alone, and she even used this time of struggle for personal growth. She was also asked about the biggest difference between being a group member and a solo artist. Jessica's answer was interesting to say the least. She said, "You get to choose everything. You know, if you're in a group, then the majority wins. This goes for every single thing, from the little things to the big decisions as well." She went on to say that it's a system that you need to get used to and be okay with, admitting that she used to be fine with it back then. However, she shared that she enjoyed her current situation a lot more, and it's no surprise. The main thing about the fact that Jessica left the group is that we don't know what happened that led to this decision. There's been many theories about this too. Rumors of disagreement between the members, internal feuds, Jessica deciding to leave the group on her own, SM kicking her out. The biggest speculation is that the other 8 members held a meeting and unanimously decided to kick her out of the group. The rumor started when Chinese insiders and Jessica's fan sites, who were close to staff members and managers in SM Entertainment, had started posting about how Jessica had left the group involuntarily. To make this more weird, these posts were way before the official announcement of her departure. These insiders said that the decision hadn't been hers, and even wrote about how if Jessica were to go to the Chinese fan meet that was scheduled on September 30th, the other members would refuse to go. Jessica had even addressed this on Weibo before SM had released the statement announcing the news. The post was later deleted, but according to her, she was asked by the company and the members to leave the group. After the post was deleted, people thought she was hacked, but unfortunately, that turned out to be the truth, or at least from Jessica's perspective. She then released an official statement revealing the company and the other members had been okay with her starting Blank and Eclair, but things changed a month later. She wrote, "The other members of the group had a change of heart. At a meeting of the other 8 members, it was decided that I would be told to either turn my back on my business or leave the group." Among other things, Jessica expressed that it was unfair for for them to corner her like this, and at the end of September, she got a notice that informed her she wasn't a member of the group anymore. This explained why she had been absent from the fan meeting event in China. She also mentioned the so-called ultimatum in her novel Bright. As you might know, Jessica wrote 2 fictional novels, Shine and its sequel Bright, which center around a Korean-American character named Rachel and her journey of debuting in a famous 9-member girl group named Girls Forever. It sounds very familiar to the real-life events that took place, so it's not unfair to believe that there's some truth in the books. Well, most importantly because it was based on Jessica's own experiences in the industry. While the first book briefly touches on the topic and Rachel's relationship with the other members, the second book presents the character with a difficult situation. In one of the chapters, the 8 members of Girls Forever express dissatisfaction with Rachel's newly launched fashion line. This detail suggests that Jessica's recollection of how the 8 Girls' Generation members isolated her and played a role in her decision to leave the group might be partially true. Specifically in the book, the members in Girls Forever point out the many times that Rachel had been late for rehearsals in Los Angeles, even though they had also been late before. Then, all 8 of them go to the manager together and express how unhappy they were with Rachel's fashion brand. It is then decided that they wouldn't go to the important concert if Rachel happens to join them. As a result of their complaints, the company had to decide based on what most of the members wanted, which is to kick Rachel out of the group. Jessica mentions that the book is fictional, but this particular scene, along with her Weibo post and the confessions from her fan site and insiders, all link up together. These insiders had also said that they accused specific members of being the main reasons behind Jessica's departure from the group. They claimed that there was a vote to decide whether Jessica should stay or leave, and some members voted in different directions. Again, we have no idea what happened in that meeting or who's at fault for everything that went down, but Jessica mentioned that the majority won when it came to decisions, whether they be big or small ones. In general, it seems like all parties have moved on. Of course, they still get questions about it, seeing as everyone is still curious about what went on, but the answers are general and don't get into it much. Jessica has her solo career, and the members of Girls' Generation are doing their own thing. As Jessica mentioned, the past is in the past, and that she's already moved on from everything, so what's left to do is support everyone. But Girls' Generation isn't the only group with strained ties. Another once-beloved girl group faced their own fractured relationships. The AOA scandal remains one of the most infamous mistreatment incidents in K-pop history. Now, 4 years later, many are curious about the members' current relationships. Are they still close, or did the scandal permanently damage their relationship? Despite having a flawless discography and a great career, the only thing that AOA are unfortunately remembered for is their mistreatment scandal. As you might remember, in July 2020, Mina, a former member of the group, made a shocking post on Instagram saying that she had endured mistreatment for 10 years, primarily accusing Jimin, the group's leader, of verbally and physically tormenting her. Although Mina stated that she cherished her time with AOA, she said that the ongoing mistreatment severely affected her mental health, leading her to self-harm and even considered taking her life. According to her, this pain contributed significantly to her decision to leave the group in May 2019. Mina also said that she struggled to maintain close ties with her bandmates, feeling like the others sided with Jimin, saying that she had only remained close to Jimin. Additionally, 3 years ago, Dispatch released transcripts of conversations from the members' visit to Mina's home, capturing what was said during their attempt to address her claims. Now, even with so much time passed, curiosity remains strong about where the members stand with each other today, and if any sense of unity or friendship survived after all that unfolded. Following the scandal, the 7 AOA members became active on social media once again, showing subtle signs of support by liking each other's posts and interacting now and then. The members kept some interaction going after the scandal, with Dohwa and Haejung joining forces to do a dance cover of Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do, and also a cover of 10cm's Phone Cert. Later on, Dohwa also teamed up with Seolhyun for a cover of Little Mix's Wasabi. Since then, however, their public interactions have been few and far between. Then, on January 11th of this year, it was revealed that member Yoona would be married the following month. While fans were happy after hearing the announcement, they were also curious about which members would be invited, or if any of them would attend. After departing from the company in December 2020, Yoona left her music career behind to become a yoga instructor. This change explained her lack of posts about the group or its members, leading many to question whether they stayed in touch at all. Then, when the wedding happened, fans realized that only Haejung and Dohwa had attended it. Even though the closeness between the three could be explained by the fact that they were in the AOA Cream subunit together, it still raised questions about why other members like Jimin, Seolhyun, or even Chua didn't attend. It was even stranger that Jimin wasn't at the wedding, since she had apparently gone to a pre-wedding gathering hosted by Yoona. Aside from the wedding, some of the members have have hung out and publicly supported each other in what they're doing. Jimin and Seolhyun were clearly among the closest members of the group, and their bond remained just as strong after the scandal. Nearly a year after the mistreatment accusations in November 2021, they celebrated Halloween with friends, and Seolhyun posted a story on Instagram showing them in matching t-shirts. By March 2022, they took a trip together, sharing photos of their food adventures, though they didn't post any pictures of just the two of them. Later that month, Seolhyun uploaded her first pictures with Jimin in a long time, reassuring fans that their friendship was still intact despite everything. Since then, they have consistently supported each other and shared updates, which is truly heartwarming to see. On the other hand, Dohwa appeared to have kept in touch with all the members. She attended Yuna's wedding, did an Instagram livestream with Jimin, and shared Jimin's music on her profile to support her on the release. Jimin also went to see Dohwa's play, and the two teamed up for an episode of SBS's radio show Young Street, suggesting they remained close. Dohwa posted a picture of Seolhyun's poster for the beer brand Cloud on her Instagram story, calling her pretty. This hints that the two are on good terms as well. Additionally, the members showed their support for Dohwa during her time on Queendom Puzzle, indicating that they still hold a lot of affection for their maknae. Aside from this, there weren't many noteworthy interactions between the members. Jimin and Seolhyun kept hanging out together, and the other members liked each other's pictures occasionally, but this was it. Overall, people seem to agree that while they might not be as close as before, they still maintained a good relationship and kept in touch. Hyejong managed to prove everyone wrong though, as on an October 2nd interview on Tak Jaehoon's YouTube channel, she revealed that the group's members aren't particularly close. During the interview, Tak Jaehoon asked about AOA's current status. She explained that although the group hasn't officially disbanded, their time together feels like it's over, with each member now supporting the others from afar. Discussing Chua's departure, Hyejong expressed her respect for Chua's decision to pursue her own path and dreams, adding that she had no regret or sympathy about it. She was also asked who she thought was doing better out of all the members, but Hyejong was respectful about it, saying that they had gone in different directions and they were all doing well. The real shock came when she admitted that, although she keeps up with the members' lives on Instagram, she isn't actually in touch with any of them right now. It came as a surprise, especially since there were once close bonds within the group even after their public issues. For example, Hyejong and Mina kept a friendly relationship despite everything, and in 2022, Mina shared photos of them together on Instagram. Hyejong was also known to be close to Seolhyun, so hearing that she wasn't in contact with any of them was shocking. She was also asked about AOA's future activities or whether the members had reconciled, but she kept her answer simple, saying that they weren't in touch, so she didn't have any information. Netizens had a lot of thoughts about this interview. Some said that the situation wasn't as shocking, especially considering everything that had happened. The girls may have had a close bond at one time, but they eventually went their separate ways, joining different companies and pursuing different careers. It's understandable that they weren't as close as they once were. A commenter wrote, "It's better for everyone involved to move on. It's not like friendships are forever. Even if they had disbanded on friendly terms, they probably wouldn't be actively in each other's lives." Others said that being in the spotlight since they were young, with some pretty intense schedules, must have really distressed the girls, and it's no wonder they're trying to put that part of their lives behind them. However, people were thrown off once again when in October 2022, Mina posted two pictures on her account with none other than Chua. The post was made with the caption, "I was going to keep this for myself, but since Sangha shared it, I'll release it too," and even fondly referring to Chua as Chua Uni. Netizens were shocked by the interaction, but also pleased, making comments like, "It's been so long since we've seen this pair, and I hope they sing together again." Others were convinced that Mina didn't have good intentions, warning Chua to stay away from her. They also called Mina an attention seeker for posting the picture, even though Sangha was the one who posted the picture first. Most people, though, were happy that the members had reconciled to some extent, but to fans, it wasn't very surprising that the two are still in touch. They had a close relationship while in the group, and even after Chua's departure in 2017, Mina was one of the few members who still kept in contact with her. So to have them reunite after everything that happened is not as strange as some people made it out to be. Now that the group and the relationship between them came to public attention once again, Mina took the chance to speak out about what happened. In a lengthy post, she discussed several past controversies, including her ex-boyfriend, the hotel smoking incident, and the situation with Jimin. Regarding that situation, she mentioned enduring pain for a decade, which led her to use harsh words toward Jimin. Mina explained that after leaving the group, her anger boiled over due to the mistreatment she faced, including being hit and insulted. She also expressed regret for sharing her self-harm images online, acknowledging the impact on her younger fans, and vowed to not bring these issues up again, saying that she would be focusing on moving forward. At the end of her post, she wrote, "I know there are many who dislike me, but for the few fans who support me, I will continue to live brightly and work hard." As it always happens when Mina makes a post, the reactions from netizens are divided. Some people were skeptical of her statements, claiming that she wasn't taking responsibility for her actions and was still blaming Jimin. Commenters also said that she should have mentioned Jimin by name and apologized to her directly, with one user saying, "Still no apology to Jimin. You would think if she was really sorry she might mention the witch hunt she forced upon her." However, others pointed out that this was the best course of action for Mina, to acknowledge everything publicly, apologize, and promise to do better, and it appears like she's already doing so. Back in August, it was revealed through a source that Mina was planning to make a comeback via a multi-channel network, indicating that she was slowly returning to the entertainment industry online rather than jumping straight back. The source also mentioned that she is open to acting again if the right opportunity comes along, and that she has grown stronger, now better able to handle online criticism. A few days later, her official fan cafe announced the KwanMina 2024 activity plan, outlining her goal to reconnect with fans through YouTube and online broadcasts in 2024, with further details about her schedule to be provided later. She appears to be improving both mentally and in her career, so we hope she finds peace and can lead a normal life after everything that's happened. And the truth is, these complicated dynamics aren't rare. Many groups deal with hidden conflicts the public never sees. Members of K-pop groups act like they're all extremely close to each other, which I'm pretty sure is the case for most of them if we take into consideration the amount of time they spend together. But there are also some idols who are more co-workers than friends. It doesn't mean that they hate each other, just they aren't as close as people make them seem to be. I mean, you don't get along with everyone at work, so why should they? Let's go through the times when K-pop idols admitted that they don't get along with their members, or when they were rumored not to be close. LOONA. It's unrealistic for people to think that in a group of 12 people between the ages of 26 and 19, everybody would be best friends with each other. They all care deeply about each other, but at different levels. They all work together as co-workers, they spend a lot of time together, and they live together, so of course they'll all be friends in some way or another, though some members are not as close as they may look. Gohan and Hyunjin, for example, are so awkward with each other that the LOONA members love teasing them about it. In a V-Live that the members did, the members looked back on their past LOONA TV episodes and joked about Gohan and Hyunjin's awkward friendship. They went as far as to make the two have a 1-minute conversation about their day, and it sounded like an uncomfortable first date. Hyunjin even asked Gohan what her favorite color was. We can chalk this up to both of them being shy and introverted, but it made a funny moment between the two. I know the other LOONA members will never let them forget this. SHINee. It's very surprising to hear about SHINee not getting along considering how close they are today, but that wasn't always the case. In an interview that SHINee did for GQ in 2010, Key didn't shy away from calling their relationship what it was, a business deal. He was even the first idol to publicly say that companies should allow the members to live separately, as that's what brought SHINee closer together in the first place. Key actually said, "They are not my family and they are not my closest friends. There's no way I could explain them. Member is the best word for them." Then the interviewer pointed out the cold and distant feelings between the members. Key said, "If we become too close like family, I feel like there will be a problem. You will begin to think about your relationship instead of the person. We only meet for work, so we have only a work relationship," is the best description. I'm not being cool and distant. The stories about the members having beef before they got close are also their favorite to tell. Some of them were so serious that they ended in fistfights. For example, one time Minho told Key to pick up after himself and it turned into a huge argument. Out of all the SHINee members, Minho was the first to be recruited by SM Entertainment. He knew how strict the company was about their rules, so he told Key to clean. Key didn't like being ordered around, so this led to some petty arguments that kept getting repeated over the years, but we know how that blossomed into a beautiful friendship. Just like Minho said, "I didn't expect that we would be this close from the moment we met, but look at us now." Brown-eyed girls. Okay, so younger groups who want to have long-lasting careers should take notes from the brown-eyed girls members. Or maybe not to this scale at least. When the girls came back after a 4-year hiatus, they were asked what was the secret behind their longevity as a group. Their answer? "We don't even have each other's numbers." They took it a step further by explaining, "Our 4-year hiatus was Gain's fault. The secret behind our longevity is that we're not close to each other." They may have been exaggerating and joking around, but this isn't the first time the members have explained that their supposed friendship is nothing but a business relationship. I mean, the girls were so distant that there have been rumors that there were physical fights between them. However, Narsha put them to rest. She said, "You have to see each other often, even to be able to pick a fight. We're not that close." I think it's admirable that their relationship is mature to the point that the group was able to survive for this long, so good for them, I guess. Super Junior. Super Junior are the most extreme case of the members not getting along that I've ever seen. Like in any big group, there are members who are close to each other than to other members, but Super Junior have been pretty open about the fights that they've had. It seems like at this point in their careers, Super Junior know that their relationship has been built on business only, and they're totally okay with admitting that, so they joke as much as they can about it since they know which button they can or cannot push. There have also been too many fistfights between the members to count, but this story I'm about to discuss is definitely one for the books. When Super Junior appeared on NBC's Radio Star, Ye-sung confessed that he once feared that Siwon might Yeouk during a fight. Ye-sung explained, he surprisingly fought with Yeouk. At the time, I worried that he might Yeouk. Believe it or not, the fight happened over Siwon giving too many high fives, and Yeouk, being short-tempered, got so angry about it that the two got into a physical altercation. Siwon said honestly, Yeouk and I really don't get along. He's really not my type. We act considerately toward each other because we know each other. He's a dongsang that I like, but our inclinations are very different. Thankfully, the issue got solved with a contract that said Siwon is only allowed to high-five him only 3 times a day. What a story. 4-minute walked so Miss A could run. They literally invented the trope of members hating the one that the company pushes the most. Sorry, that's just a joke. Or is it? The group disbanded in 2016 after all the members, except for Hyuna, decided not to renew their contracts with Cube Entertainment. Not very surprising considering Hyuna's solo career was thriving at the time. The reason for the disbandment was a pretty standard one. All members wanted to pursue different careers and had different futures in mind. But according to people who have been following the group, the truth might have been a little bit different. One netizen commented, "Seems inevitable considering the huge popularity gap between the members." And they were right, because if we're being completely honest, among all the members, Hyuna was the most famous one. She started her solo career pretty early on. During her time in the group, Hyuna had released several popular solo songs such as Ice Cream, Bubble Pop, and Red, so it wasn't that far-fetched to think that Cube was pushing her more compared to the other members. I mean, her solo songs were far more known than 4 minutes. The disbandment seemed like a peaceful one, but then fans discovered that the members had unfollowed Hyuna on Instagram right after the disbandment announcement. Then they found out that Hyuna was the one who started unfollowing the members, prompting them to respond by unfollowing her as well. Then a year later, the other members had a small reunion where everyone went except for, and try to act shocked, Hyuna. None of the members nor Hyuna has clarified whether she just couldn't make it or whether she wasn't invited, but we have a pretty good guess, right? Girls' Generation. No, I'm not going to talk about Jessica. I feel like that's the most obvious answer, but I'm gonna share with you a different story. Instead of talking about Jessica and Taeyeon's rumored feud, I'm going to draw your attention to an awkward relationship between 2 other members. Hyoyeon made a surprise confession on the radio program Ehe Radio, and it honestly made me take a closer look to the interactions between the members. She was asked to choose the Girls' Generation members whom she categorizes as either despise, dislike, not as close, or very close. She began with, "I don't have anyone I despise or dislike, but I do have one member I'm awkward around." And then she dropped the name, Taeyeon. She admitted that after 11 years of being together in the same group, she and Taeyeon don't have a lot in common, and that's why their interactions aren't great. She explained that Taeyeon enjoys staying at home while she herself loves to go out and meet people, giving the two little to no things to talk about. She said, "I'm always out trying to meet friends, but Taeyeon likes to stay home, so our conversations are very awkward." The members have also discussed the instances when they had fights during their time in SNSD, just like every group does, but their friendship remains admirable, especially after all of these years. NCT. If groups with 4 members can't find it in themselves to get along or even get close, imagine how the case is for NCT. Chenla said it best. "NCT is a big boy group, but we're not close. This can't be helped. Everyone is busy and does activities separately, so there's little opportunities to meet. If I say we're super close, it'll be lying." The big number of members and the age differences between them certainly doesn't help things. But it's okay, since SM Entertainment found a way to make that into a show, and you know I hate to praise them on anything, but they kind of hit the mark with this. The show is literally called Awkward But It's Okay, and I'm not kidding. It's a variety show that puts up awkward pairs in NCT in a one-on-one environment where they're basically forced to spend time together and become friends. Who needs Marvel crossovers when we have this? It's funny when they put members that have little to no interactions or have little in common, so that would amp up the awkward meter to the max. Sometimes the secondhand embarrassment is too much, but the show is ultimately very fun to watch. Some of these pairings have really interesting dynamics and probably even hit it off and became closer with each other, so it's definitely worth it. Which one of these stories surprised you the most? And do you know some other instances of members not liking each other? And even among the newest groups, tensions are already starting to show. Since the release of the Pop Star Academy documentary, which followed KATSEYE from their early training days to their debut, viewers have been left with some questions. While it highlighted their journey, certain moments in the film sparked curiosity: are the girls genuinely close, or does some tension from the show still linger? Across 8 episodes, Pop Star Academy followed the intense journey of over 20 trainees as they trained and competed for a chance to debut. The show captured the pressures they faced, from grueling practices and eliminations to personal conflicts and rivalries. Now, seeing as they were all in their teenage years, with the oldest being 21, one would understand why they didn't get along. After all, they were all competing with each other, so it was only normal for them to feel jealous or even upset towards the other girls. However, based on remarks and posts from both current and former trainees, it appears their issues weren't fully worked out. This raises the question, what's the dynamic between the members and the other girls like today? Most trainees seem very supportive of the current members, even commenting on their posts on social media and posting TikTok to the group's songs. That doesn't seem to be the case for everyone though. Adela and Naisha, among the eliminated contestants, seem to have the most issues with Manon. To explain, Manon struggled to understand the demands of the K-pop training system and initially treated it too casually, even comparing it to school, where skipping days was an option if she felt unwell. Her frequent absences, partly due to having COVID at the time, seemed to have frustrated the other trainees, who began questioning her commitment to the program. Not only did her lack of effort disrupt the group's teamwork, but they also had to prepare 2 versions of choreography in case she didn't show up. This left the others feeling that she was being selfish and didn't deserve her spot, as they believed she wasn't putting in the same level of dedication. Naisha didn't show any signs of conflict with her at first, at least not on camera. She was actually eliminated in the 4th episode for violating her NDA, so she was gone before the conflict started taking place. Adela, on the other hand, was voted out right after the show shifted from judges' decisions to public voting. Adela ranked 20th, while Manon placed 4th. In episode 7, after both are eliminated, Adela and Naisha appear on a beach, with Adela suggesting Manon doesn't deserve to move forward or debut in the group due to her lack of commitment during training. She's heard saying she breaks the rules and she doesn't get penalized for it. Like, now it's being completely ignored. It's surprising because we naively thought something else. Seeing Naisha and Adela after their elimination stirred up some debate, especially since they were no longer in the program. Fans were upset that other trainees, including those who actually made it into the group, barely got any screen time, while Naisha and Adela were seen discussing how they felt Manon didn't deserve her spot even after their elimination. While her feelings were valid, many people argued that she went about them the wrong way, as Naisha was also flamed for the things she did after the show had already aired. Particularly, a comment she left on Lara's post caused the majority of the group's fans to turn against her. In the comment in question, Naisha says that she's proud of Lara and that she deserves her spot in the group. She then says that Lara has to hold it down for the brown girls, but she's going to end up having to hold it down for the black girls as well. To fans, this was a weird thing to say, considering that Manon, a black girl, had also made it into the group. Not only that, but Naisha was eliminated from the program before Lara had even come in, so to make these comments on her page, shading Manon was uncalled for. Later, Lara unfollowed her. Naisha was also accused of commenting and showing support to every single one of the members, except for Manon. Fans found the situation frustrating, especially since Manon had always been kind and supportive of Naisha, especially after she got booted out. Despite this, Naisha badmouthed her after being eliminated, even though Manon had literally nothing to do with Naisha leaking songs online, which was the reason for her elimination or her conflict with the program manager Missy. For Adela, well, she's undoubtedly the person that got talked about the most after the show aired. Adela ranked high consistently throughout the first few episodes, as she put a lot of effort into everything. She showed up to practice earlier, practiced in her free time, and even helped the other trainees with whatever they needed. She was also well liked by both the girls and the judges, with Missy being particularly fond of her. However, Adela became frustrated with Manon when she began skipping practices, and she showed it the most. In a private chat with Dr. Wetter, the program's psychologist, she expressed her frustration that Manon was receiving a lot of attention even though she missed team practices. Adela stated that she felt as if the support for Manon was based solely on her looks rather than her contributions to the team. Now, fans weren't exactly mad about the way she was feeling because, to some degree, it was understandable. It would be frustrating for most of us to be putting in a lot of work and effort into something, constantly rank high, get praised because of it, and then be dropped in an instant. After all, the girls joined the program to be judged on their skills and performance, and were basically promised to debut as long as they put in the work. However, once Manon entered and gained public attention, ranking shifted from being based on talent to who the public favored, which must have felt upsetting for the others. While her feelings were valid, many people argued that she went about them the wrong way, as her repeated criticism of Manon, even after leaving the show, only made people dislike her more. Many felt her comments comments were excessive and unnecessary, making it seem like she thought that Manon was the sole reason for her elimination. It's safe to say that the negativity towards Adela lingered long after the show ended, but what's the actual relationship between her and Manon when the cameras aren't rolling and there's no editing? Well, if we judge by social media interactions, things still seem to be rocky. After the survival show ended, Adela wrote congratulatory messages under the posts of all the KATSEYE members, except for Manon, which raised a lot of questions. After the backlash, she commented congrats on Manon's picture, but that frustrated people even more. A Twitter user directly asked her about this, pointing out that as a public figure, leaving out a few girls while congratulating and posting pictures with everyone else is likely to raise questions. The viewer then expressed disappointment, even though they didn't want to assume the worst. To this, Adela responded by saying that she had never been that close to Manon since they weren't in the same groups and didn't live in the dorm together. She explained that she congratulated her personally, but only posted public congratulations for those she was closer to. Then she went on to write, "I saw that people were being weird about it, so I posted the congrats, but that just upset everyone more. There wasn't malicious intent, we just weren't tight." The explanation got mixed responses. Some said that the issue wasn't as deep, and these were just the realities of survival shows. The girls weren't all going to be close to each other due to the program's competitive nature, which was okay. It's not like people get along with all of their co-workers, for example, and if they do, it's not like they're close to everyone. They also noted that since Adela wasn't a part of the Dream Academy when the final lineup was voted, it was confusing why people were still checking up on her and seeking her opinions. However, others said that Adela was just being petty by not congratulating Manon. One commenter pointed out that it would be understandable if she only mentioned a few members, but if she was close with all but one, it would have been respectful to include that person too. According to them, she didn't even have to write a long, loving message and pretend that their relationship was something that it wasn't, but a simple congratulations would have sufficed. Adela once again addressed the relationship between the two on a TikTok posted on August 26th. Adela started by expressing gratitude for the support she received. She also responded to the criticism, clarifying that the docuseries only offered a brief view of the trainees' lives. With 2 years of footage squeezed into 8 episodes, many details were left out, even though Adela didn't specifically mention what happened. Overall, the two weren't anything but two trainees who just happened to be on the same program and nothing more. The part of the show that got the most attention, though, was the apparent feud between Sophia, Lara, and Manon. As mentioned, everyone was upset with Manon for missing practice often, and they were also shocked when Adela ended up ranking 20th. Lara was particularly surprised to see Adela rank 20th, given that the judges had frequently praised her. While this reaction was expected, some were annoyed when Lara commented that seeing less dedicated contestants rank higher was just stupid. She felt the rankings weren't about talent or effort, but rather about looks. Lara had also snickered when Manon went back to practice, which was seen as unnecessary and mean. As for Sophia, she was the one who confronted Manon during a discussion they had about her work ethic. For context, Manon had a conversation with Missy, letting her know she wanted to address the group. Once everyone was in the practice room, Manon shared how frustrated she had been feeling about the situation. She admitted she had missed some practices, but pointed out that the others had done the same. However, it felt like she was the only one being called out for it. Curious about their thoughts, she asked the group and Sophia responded, saying the program was all about discipline, hard work, and paying attention, including small things like taking notes. Manon pushed back, saying she had been taking notes, which had even been shown in earlier episodes. But as she tried to defend herself, Missy interrupted, telling her to listen. Sophia clarified that Manon's skills weren't the issue, it was her inconsistency in showing up. Still, she ended on a positive note, telling Manon she believed in her, which Manon found touching. After explaining her side of things, Manon's honesty seemed to resonate with the other trainees, and they acknowledged her improvement. The girls managed to settle things right away, though some viewers weren't happy with how Sophia handled it. They felt she unfairly called out Manon for no real reason. It made sense for them to be frustrated, but criticizing Manon for supposedly not taking notes and zoning out just once felt unnecessary. As for Lara, she got the most hate for the comments she made about Manon, which made people wonder whether the friendship that the girls were displaying for the public was real or not. They might have patched things up for the sake of the group, but how real was it really? Well, the girls addressed the claims multiple times. Sophia reflected on their journey, mentioning how a few years ago they were just young and inexperienced, navigating an incredibly intense process. Now, as both KATSEYE members, they have grown so much that their bond feels unshakable. Manon also referred to the girls as her sisters, saying that she was glad to have them by her side during the experience. They even made jokes about their alleged beef, with Lara and Manon posting a TikTok saying, "We're literally fine." Whatever their issues were, it's clear that they have gotten past them and are working actively to make sure that their bond only grows. But perhaps the biggest surprise is that even the most powerful names in K-pop might not be as close as they appear. After years of shining on stage side by side, BLACKPINK has always been seen as a group of best friends who followed their dreams together. But lately, some fans can't help but feel that things have started to shift. With solo careers taking off and other responsibilities piling up, it's starting to look like their friendship may no longer be the priority it once was. One of the most common theories among netizens, even among longtime fans, is that BLACKPINK now gives off the energy of coworkers rather than close friends. They're still clearly respectful with each other and on good terms, but some fans say that the natural chemistry they once showed just isn't as obvious anymore. The idea that they've grown apart isn't new, but recently it's gained a lot more attention, especially when people started noticing how the girls interact during each other's solo releases. And Lisa in particular has been right at the center of that conversation. When Rose came out with Rosie, Jennie immediately took to Instagram to show her support, doing way more than just reposting her album. She wrote a sweet message calling her Rosie Posey, talked about how proud she was, and said she couldn't wait to hear her beautiful voice. It felt personal, exciting, and super supportive. Around the same time, Rose was also spotted dropping cute comments under Jennie's mantra teaser, showing love with emojis and hyping her up in front of fans. Jisoo gave the girls the same energy. Every time one of the girls drops something new, she's usually one of the first to like, comment, or post something about it. Fans have even claimed she's the most consistent one when it comes to publicly backing her girls, and she rarely misses a moment. Lisa, on the other hand, was attacked by tons of fans for being too quiet when it comes to publicly supporting the other members with their solo ventures back in 2024. Some fans argued that Lisa didn't really say or post much about any of the other members' solo activities. No Instagram story about Jennie's single, no comment under Rose's announcement, no hype for Jisoo's solo debut either. While the other three girls were supporting each other left, right, and center, netizens accused Lisa of staying completely silent about it all. People started pointing out how this apparently wasn't just a one-time thing. Over the last few comebacks and projects, they claimed Lisa was the least supportive. It got to the point where fans were wondering if Lisa just didn't want to be involved in group-related stuff anymore. Others blamed her alleged lack of care on her new rumored relationship with Frederick Arnault. Lisa was recently photographed vacationing in Sicily with Arnault, the CEO of luxury watch brand Tag Heuer and heir to the LVMH empire. The two were seen out in the open, enjoying a seaside date with no attempt to stay hidden, just casually spending time together. It wasn't the first time they'd been linked, as rumors have been going around since 2023. Some fans felt the change in her public behavior was noticeable after the dating rumors emerged, pointing out how different she seemed compared to the earlier years of BLACKPINK, when her bond with the members appeared to be much more important. Her growing involvement in elite social circles had some wondering if she was slowly pulling away from the group image and carving out a space that didn't include the others. Of course, there were also fans defending Lisa, arguing that she has not been unsupportive and that her dynamic with the fellow members is still the same. Some said maybe she was just too busy, or that she didn't really enjoy posting much. Others believed her social media might have been run by her PR team, so it wasn't fully in her own control. Moreover, netizens highlighted that she could have been showing support privately, which is something the public wouldn't necessarily see. That's why her post of October 11th, 2024 felt like a direct response to all the criticism. Lisa finally broke her silence by posting an Instagram story congratulating Jennie on her single mantra. The message was playful, full of emojis, and clearly supportive, a lighthearted but direct way of showing she was paying attention all along. During a live stream later that evening, Jennie even shared that Lisa had also reached out behind the scenes to compliment her choreography, and she was clearly over the moon. It wasn't just a cute comment, it felt like Lisa's way of quietly shutting down the claims that she didn't support her members. Over the past few years, it's not just Lisa who's been catching strays, because even Rose has unexpectedly found herself in the middle of backlash. During a recent interview, she was asked to associate words with different letters of the alphabet. When the letter B came up, instead of saying BLACKPINK or even Blinks, Rose casually responded with Bruno, referencing her collaboration with Bruno Mars. While this might seem like a harmless comment, the moment didn't sit right with a lot of fans. Considering she's been part of BLACKPINK for over a decade, many expected that her first thought would be her group or the fandom that supported her from the start. Instead, fans were taken aback, with some even calling it tone-deaf and ungrateful. A few netizens went as far as to say it felt like confirmation that BLACKPINK as a brand owes more to business deals, massive marketing pushes, and celebrity collaborations than to a strong, loyal fandom. That comment likely stung for a lot of Blinks, who have spent years defending the group through every hiatus, controversy, and comeback drought. Now, those same fans are probably questioning whether that energy was ever really appreciated. But at this point, it's not just about the solo careers or social media silence. Netizens like to overanalyze anything, including tension between the members during their promotions. One of the most talked about examples involved Rose and Lisa, whose dynamic seemed noticeably off while they were on tour 2 years ago. Instead of their usual energy and interaction on stage, fans saw the two keeping their distance, avoiding eye contact, and in some clips, straight up ignoring each other. Videos from the shows quickly made headlines online, showing Lisa and Rosé standing far apart during group moments where they normally would have been side by side. Of course, no one knows exactly what might have happened behind the scenes, but to many viewers, the body language spoke volumes. Netizens began speculating that the two had gotten into some kind of disagreement or fight during the tour, and that it was affecting their performance chemistry. Still, just because there have been awkward moments or distant interactions, that doesn't mean the group is automatically falling apart. Even close friends have off days, and the same goes for BLACKPINK. After all the rumors about Rosé and Lisa possibly fighting, some fans pointed out that the girls were later seen going out to breakfast together as a full group. At their next concert, they looked completely fine on stage, smiling, interacting normally, and doing what they've always done. The truth is, people argue even if they've been friends for years. It's not unusual for close friends, especially those working under pressure, traveling constantly, and performing in front of thousands, to have a disagreement or two. It doesn't mean their dynamic is ruined forever. Some fans have also pushed back on the non-stop overanalyzing, saying the real issue is how every tiny detail gets turned into a headline. Whether it's someone standing 2 feet apart instead of one, not holding hands on stage, or being a little quiet during a concert, people are quick to assume the worst. But while some fans are trying to keep things in perspective, others have taken the situation in a completely different direction, with full-blown theories about BLACKPINK secretly hating each other. One of the most common claims is that the reason they all signed with separate solo companies is because they wanted nothing more to do with one another, and that if it weren't for YG Entertainment stepping in, BLACKPINK would have already been over. Some fans even believe the members were forced to renew the group activities part of their contract, not because they wanted to stay together, but because YG allegedly threatened them with losing the rights to their group name, trademarks, and even their songs if they walked away completely. And then there's the theory that the members never really got along in the first place. According to these fans, BLACKPINK was always more of a business arrangement than a true friendship. The group was created to be a high-performing team made up of individuals who were more focused on their own success than any deep emotional connection. The fact that all four are now building their own management companies without overlapping in any real way is being used as proof that they've chosen to keep things strictly professional moving forward. But let's be honest, a lot of this is starting to feel a bit far-fetched. The idea that BLACKPINK secretly hates each other, that they're only performing together because of legal threats, or that they were never friends to begin with is a bit dramatic, and there's little to back it up. Most of these theories are built on things that aren't happening, like not posting together, not hanging out in public, or not being seen on each other's social media. But does that really prove anything? In reality, BLACKPINK's dynamic has always been a little more private than other K-pop groups. They've never been the type to constantly show off their closeness online, and expecting them to spend every free second together or document every interaction just isn't realistic. They're four adults with separate careers, lives, and circles, so that doesn't automatically mean there's tension behind the scenes. Their documentary showed a very different side of them, one where they clearly care about each other, lean on one another, and express gratitude for the group's journey. Not to mention, we've seen the members promote each other's solo work plenty of times, even if it's not always super public. A lot of the drama actually seems to come from solo stans who constantly pit the girls against each other and fuel this idea that there's jealousy or competition within the group. But that energy often comes more from the fandom than the members themselves. People forget that they're independent artists who don't need to perform closeness 24/7 to prove that they care about each other. Just because fans aren't seeing content of the girls together all the time doesn't mean it's not happening, and assuming they've fallen apart just because it's not public is a reach. What many people seem to forget is that BLACKPINK didn't just come together out of nowhere. These girls have known each other since their trainee days. They lived together, trained side by side, and spent years building a real connection. Their bond wasn't formed overnight, and it definitely isn't something social media posts can fully capture. In fact, Jisoo addressed the rumors directly during her appearance on My Alcohol Diary. When asked if the members ever had problems with each other, a question that's clearly been fueled by the non-stop speculation, she simply laughed it off. She explained that the girls actually joke about the rumors among themselves, saying things like, "They say that I'm your competition, so be careful." Instead of letting it affect them, they find humor in how fans twist the smallest things into drama. As Jisoo joked, they even tease each other with lines like, "Hey, why didn't you post it on Instagram? It made a rumor. You should have promoted my album." All with laughter and zero hard feelings. Even Lisa, who has caught her fair share of criticism, spoke up about her relationship with the members during an interview. She used the moment to reflect on how far they've come as a group since debuting together in 2016. Lisa made it clear that despite each member working on solo projects, the connection between them hasn't faded. She shared that they still talk regularly, support each other's work and treat each other like family. Whether it's texting, FaceTiming, or cheering each other on behind the scenes, the bond is very much alive, just not always on display for everyone to analyze. Lisa also mentioned how proud she was of Jennie and Rosé's recent releases and explained that solo work was something they all had dreamed of doing for a long time. And now that they've grown, both as artists and individuals, there's simply more space for flexibility and independence. That doesn't mean they've drifted apart, it just means they're evolving. In-group fights like this don't come up often, but this one almost completely altered the course of a group's entire future.
Today, we will investigate the biggest fight in K-pop's history and all the possible reasons behind it. It was in summer of 2017 when the fans of NCT unit NCT Dream started noticing that something was a little off, especially between the members Mark and Haechan, who seemed to have a bit of tension going on. Netizens, being their curious selves, immediately tried to put a meaning behind all the strange behavior that these two exhibited, and soon enough, different conspiracies and theories started to flood the internet. But what was the truth, you ask? The mysterious summer. It's pretty impossible to talk about best friends of K-pop and not mention NCT's Dream Mark and Haechan. Although their training days were rough, since these two didn't get along very well at the beginning, and Mark even considered leaving the group because of Haechan, with time, their bond got stronger and they became each other's partners in crime. Mark said it himself that Haechan is the one who has been through ups and downs with him, so they both can understand one another. They are the perfect example of what best friends should be like. They went through their first debut together, so all tea and shade aside, they're the real deal. But not always is everything gonna be rainbows and unicorns. Even best friends fight, and things sometimes get a bit heated. Which is exactly what happened in the summer of 2017, when Mark and Haechan suddenly seemed very distant and angry with each other. Netizens first heard about this from NCT's Jaehyun, who spilled the tea on their radio show NCT Night Night. In one of their episodes, Jaehyun confessed that Mark and Haechan were fighting a lot during that time. Apparently, they were so loud, the whole dorm could hear them. Since Mark and Haechan were roommates prior to their conflict, this fight resulted in them changing rooms, so they wouldn't have to share a room together. I don't know how about you guys, but that sounds pretty major. Of course, this could have been an ordinary fight that sometimes happens between bandmates. If this was just a one-time thing, surely they would make up sooner or later and then go back to being best friends. But things didn't go that well. The fight was forgotten for a while after Jaehyun shared the story. The fans didn't think about their alleged drama until pictures taken of these two at the airport. While they were preparing for their Young comeback, resurfaced. Mark and Haechan were noticeably really upset and frustrated in these photos, and netizens started questioning again what the hell was actually going on. The situation seemed to get progressively worse as it started affecting their workflow. Mark and Haechan were seen arguing even before their performance, which was caught on camera. It was obvious there was something going on between them, as they seemed to be mad at whatever the other one was doing. The other members seemed to be affected by their disagreement as well. I mean, they looked pretty over it and didn't pay much attention to it, because at that point, they probably got used to it. This fight affected their choreography as well. Some people argued that it's been pretty normal for NCT to change their choreographies from time to time, and that Mark's and Haechan's fight had nothing to do with the subtle change. However, the choreo for their song We Young contains a move where Haechan touches Mark's shoulder. For their first comeback stages and early promotions, they performed the part like it was prepared, but not long after things took a different turn. After a few weeks, the fans noticed that they changed the choreo so Haechan wouldn't have to touch Mark at all. I mean, you can sense the tension all the way through the screen. In September of 2017, NCT Dream did a VLAP together where they talked about how they have each other saved in their contacts. Haechan shared that at first, he saved himself in Mark's phone as Donghyuk Beloved, but Mark later changed the Beloved to Hateful. Haechan didn't share any more details, which only left the fans wondering even more what really went on between these two and why would Mark change the name to something so negative. Obvi, this could be only a small joke between them, but it seems a bit weird. What really happened? One would call the situation an urban legend because of how mysterious it is. Somebody call Sherlock Holmes so he can crack this case. Considering that Mark and Haechan were preparing for their Young comeback while doing promotions for Cherry Bomb at the same time, it's very likely that they have flared up due to the immense stress and busy schedules they went through during this period of their career. One thing that can be ruled out almost completely is that their fight wasn't probably over a petty thing, since it seemed rather serious. If it was just some best friends drama, I personally don't think they would make a change to a whole choreo because of that. If it wasn't due to the stress, which is inevitable during promotions, another possible reason is that this is something that came naturally. Mark and Haechan were really young at that time. They were basically still teenagers going through puberty. Just think about how many times you fought with your best friend when you were a teenager. What also doesn't help the case is that NCT is a group made up of a lot of people. Having this many members, occasional fights are bound to happen at least once or twice. You can't agree on everything with everyone. being around someone for 24 hours, 7 days a week can definitely get on your nerves and make all the built-up emotions explode. The other possible reason could also be that both of them have different personalities. While Mark is quite reserved and shy, Haechan is just really bubbly and extroverted. Haechan is also naturally playful, so maybe he just crossed some of Mark's lines? Who knows? Their fight also happened just a few months after Haechan got caught up in a controversy for being too friendly with their Sasaeng fans. A Sasaeng fan posted a picture of a cake that they got allegedly from Haechan, which only resulted in more Sasaengs to come forward and claim that they also got gifts and cakes from him. He was also rumored to be talking badly about his band members, but this was most likely not true. Haechan was allegedly trash-talking Taeyang, claiming that he had great visuals but his personality is meh. Even if it was proven to be fake, it took a toll on Haechan's popularity and a bunch of his fan sites shut down. I'm certain that this must have affected Haechan badly, as well as everyone around him. Could the lasting effects of this controversy resurface a few months later and just add fuel to the fire? In the end, many fans agree that their busy schedules and preparation for 2 comebacks at once was probably the reason that fueled whatever debacle was going on between the two. There are so many ways that you can interpret this situation, depending on how much you want to steer from reality. Some netizens even said that Mark and Haechan fought because they broke up and then got back together. I mean, whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess. In my opinion, fights like this are unnecessary to any strong friendship. Mark and Haechan were super young at that time and extremely overworked, and if you're under so much pressure, your feelings can get the best of you and make you change a whole choreo because you just don't want to touch your friend's shoulder. I obviously don't want to steer away from the seriousness of the situation since the fight didn't seem like a petty bickering, but what else is there to think since it remains as the biggest K-pop mystery ever? Where are they now? At the end of the day, Mark and Haechan proved how strong their friendship really is. Even though the situation seemed serious and many fans wondered what the frick was going to happen next, the boys were back on speaking terms again soon after the summer of 2017. And that's all that matters, right? Now, they're back to joking around, serving us some best friend goals, and I think that should be enough for fans. But despite Mark's and Haechan's friendship being stronger than ever, some people still want to know what happened even after all these years, and they're waiting for any of them to talk about what was the whole thing about. Which brings me to another point. The NCTzens are split into 2 once this fight is brought up. Some of them want to desperately know the secret so that they can have a bit of clarity or closure. And the other, well, they're pretty protective over Mark and Haechan. Those fans claim that NCT's privacy as a whole group is already violated enough, and that idols really have zero privacy to sort out their personal stuff. It's super normalized to be all up in idols' business, so on the other hand, it's unfortunately no wonder that some fans are dying to know what went on between Mark and Haechan. Another reason why this story is brought up, even after nearly 4 years, is the mystery of it all. It's what makes people really dig in and look for some evidence. Personally, I think what's most important is that they managed to overcome whatever obstacles they face and that they continue being friends. Since their conflicts seem to not only affect them but the members as well, it's incredible that they worked it out and didn't put any risk on the future of the group. We need to respect their privacy though. No matter how curious we are, some things should stay private. With this being said, I'm super glad that Mark and Haechan have each other. Their friendship is so precious and it's clear that they love each other. Even through all their hiccups, they were with each other since the start, and I hope that they'll continue being best friends until the end.
If you want more untold truths about your favorite idols, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next.